The stars had always seemed beautiful to Admiral Ho. He remembered standing on the beaches as a child, looking up at the night sky and dreaming of the worlds beyond. Now, 300 years after humanity first reached the stars, those same stars felt cold and cruel. He stood alone in his office aboard the orbital station above Earth. The massive window showed the blue planet below, peaceful and unaware of what had happened 12 light-years away. In his hand, he held a small tablet. On it played a video that had been sent across the entire galaxy. New was burning. The colony world had been humanity's pride. 3 million people lived there. Families, children, scientists, farmers, dreamers. They had built cities and planted forests. They had created a new home among the stars. Now it was all ash. The video showed warships descending from the sky like metal demons. Their weapons turned buildings into fire. People ran through the streets, but there was nowhere to run. They did not come to conquer. They came to destroy. Ho watched a mother trying to shield her children from the flames. He watched an old man standing in front of his shop, unable to understand what was happening. He watched young soldiers trying to fight back with weapons that did nothing against the shields. 3 million souls, gone in a single day. The Empire had sent this video to every species in the Galactic Federation. They wanted everyone to see. They wanted everyone to know what happened to those who were weak. Humanity had joined the Federation only 50 years ago. They were considered newcomers, primitives who had barely learned to travel between stars. The ancient species looked at humans the way humans once looked at insects. Small, unimportant, easy to crush. They had crushed them. Ho turned off the video. He had watched it 17 times. Each time he felt the same cold anger building in his chest. Not hot rage, not screaming fury, something deeper, something patient, something that would not stop until it was satisfied. His communication device beeped. He answered it. Admiral, the Federation Council has released their official response. The voice belonged to Director, Head of Earth's Intelligence Services. She sounded tired. Tell me. They have issued a formal condemnation of the attack. They have called for peaceful dialogue. They have suggested that humanity file a complaint through proper diplomatic channels. Ho said nothing for a long moment. 3 million dead, and they want us to file a complaint. High Chancellor said that violence is not the answer. He said that the Federation does not support revenge. Revenge, Ho repeated the word slowly. Is that what they think this is about? He ended the call and walked to the window. Earth floated below him, beautiful and fragile. Somewhere down there, families were receiving news that their loved ones were dead. Children were learning that their parents would never come home. Old men and women were discovering that they had been burned alive on a world 12 light-years away. The Federation wanted peace. The Federation wanted dialogue. The Federation had done nothing while New died. His door opened. Doctor walked in without waiting for permission. She was the chief scientist of Earth's research division, a woman who had spent her life studying alien technology. Her face was pale and her eyes were red from crying. You saw the video, Ho said. My sister lived on New. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. She had 2 daughters. The oldest was going to start school next month. Ho closed his eyes. I am sorry. I did not come here for sympathy. Placed a data chip on his desk. I came to show you something. Something the Federation has been hiding from us. Ho picked up the chip. What is this? When humanity joined the Federation, we were given access to certain technologies. Faster-than-light travel, basic energy weapons, medical advances, but there was much they kept from us. They said we were not ready. They said these technologies were too dangerous for a young species. What kind of technologies? His eyes were hard. The kind that could destroy stars. The kind that could end civilizations. the kind that the ancient species used in their wars millions of years ago before they decided to become peaceful. Ho looked at the data chip. How did you get this? Director's people have been gathering intelligence for decades. We always knew the Federation was hiding things. We just never had a reason to act on it. She paused. Now we have a reason. That night, Admiral Ho called a meeting of Earth's unified government. Leaders from every nation gathered in a secure chamber deep underground. Their faces showed grief, shock, and anger. Ho stood before them and spoke. The Empire has killed 3 million of our people. They did this not because we threatened them. They did this not because we harmed them. They did this because they wanted to show the galaxy that humans are weak. They wanted to prove that we are nothing. He paused and looked at each face in the room. The Galactic Federation has offered us words, condemnation, sympathy, suggestions for peaceful dialogue. They want us to accept our place as victims. They want us to be quiet and obedient. His voice grew colder. I say no. I say that Earth will not be quiet. I say that humanity will not accept this. They believe we are prey. They believe we are helpless animals waiting to be slaughtered. They are wrong. He placed Doctor's data chip on the table. We have the knowledge to build weapons the galaxy has not seen in 1,000,000 years. We have the will to use them. We have 3 million reasons to show what happens when you attack humanity. The room was silent. From this moment, Earth goes dark. No communications with the Federation, no diplomatic contact, no trade. Let them think we are hiding. Let them think we are broken. Let them think they have won. Admiral Ho's eyes burned with cold fire. And when we are ready, we will teach them what predators look like. We will teach them that the quiet ones are always the most dangerous. We will make them regret ever touching our people. He turned to face the window, where distant stars glittered in the darkness. They wanted to send a message to the galaxy. We will send one of our own. And when we are finished, every species in existence will remember what happens when you wake the sleeping humans. The leaders voted unanimously. Earth fell silent. And in the darkness of space, they celebrated their easy victory, never knowing that they had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. 6 months passed. The galaxy moved on. In the great halls of the Galactic Federation, the attack on Nu became old news. High Chancellor spoke of it sometimes as a tragedy, a sad example of aggression. But no action was taken. The Empire was too powerful, too important to the galactic economy. And humanity was too small, too weak, too unimportant. Earth had gone silent after the attack. No messages, no ships, no trade. The Federation sent diplomats, but they were turned away at the border of human space. Some species thought the humans were mourning. Others thought they were planning to surrender. Most simply forgot about them. Only Ambassador of the species felt worried. They were a peaceful people, known for their study of other cultures, had spent decades learning about humanity. She had read their history books. She had watched their old movies. She had studied their wars. And she knew something that the rest of the galaxy did not understand. Humans were not like other species. When other species lost a war, they accepted defeat. They moved on. They found peace in surrender. Humans did not surrender. Humans remembered. And humans always took revenge. She tried to warn the Federation Council. You do not understand what you are dealing with, she said to High Chancellor. Human history is filled with examples of patience followed by devastating response. They have a saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. They are not mourning, they are preparing. Smiled at her with the kindness one shows to a worried child. Ambassador, humans are a young species. They have only been traveling between stars for 300 years. What can they possibly do against the Empire? They have been conquering worlds for 10,000 years. The humans destroyed entire cities of their own kind with nuclear weapons, said. They fought wars that killed millions of their own people. They have no concept of proportional response. That was long ago when they were primitive. They have learned to be civilized now. Shook her head. You mistake their politeness for weakness. You mistake their patience for acceptance. This is a terrible error. But no one listened. Far away in the silent darkness of human space, Earth was transforming. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, Doctor worked without rest. Her laboratory stretched for kilometers, filled with scientists and engineers from every nation on Earth. They had one mission: to build weapons the galaxy had never seen. The data chip from Federation archives had given them knowledge, but humans did not simply copy what they learned. They improved it. Doctor stood before a massive device that hummed with power. It was the size of a small building, covered in wires and glowing crystals. Her team had worked for 5 months to build it. The stellar collapse device, she said to Admiral Ho, who had come to inspect their progress. The ancient species used these millions of years ago during their great wars. They abandoned the technology because they considered it too destructive. What does it do? It destabilizes the core of a star. The star collapses and then explodes outward. Everything within several light years is destroyed. Ho studied the device. That has 3 suns. Yes, his voice was flat. It does. In another part of the underground facility, Captain Sung oversaw the construction of a new fleet. 200 warships, each one designed for a single purpose: destruction. The ships were different from anything the galaxy had seen. They were painted black, invisible against the darkness of space. They carried no shields because shields could be detected. Instead, they were covered in a special material that absorbed sensor signals. They were ghosts that could appear anywhere without warning. Captain Sung walked through the construction bay, checking each ship personally. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke, but those who served under him knew that his silence hid a mind that never stopped planning. The stealth system is working better than expected, his chief engineer reported. Federation sensors cannot detect these ships at any range. Sung nodded. And the weapons? Plasma cannons modified for maximum damage, torpedo systems that can penetrate any known shield, and something new. The engineer smiled. We call it the silence field. It disables all electronic systems in a target ship. They cannot fight. They cannot run. They cannot even call for help. Good. In a different section of the base, Lieutenant trained the soldiers who would fight this war. She was young, only 30 years old, but she had studied every battle in human history. She knew tactics that the galaxy had forgotten. The civilized species of the Federation believed in rules of war. They did not attack civilian targets. They did not destroy infrastructure. They did not use biological or chemical weapons. They fought clean, honorable battles where the loser could surrender with dignity. Was teaching her soldiers something different. They killed 3 million civilians, she told her troops. Children, elderly, people who never held a weapon. They did not follow rules. They did not show mercy. She pulled up holographic images of worlds, cities, factories, farms, hospitals. We will not show mercy either. We will not attack their military and leave their civilians safe. We will attack everything: their food supplies, their power systems, their medical facilities. We will make them understand that there is no safety anywhere. A young soldier raised his hand. Is that not against the laws of war? Looked at him. The laws of war only work when both sides follow them. They broke those laws when they burned new. We are not required to follow rules that our enemy ignores. Director's intelligence agents had not been idle either. For 6 months, they had been infiltrating space. They posed as merchants, refugees, and travelers. They mapped every military base, every supply route, every weakness in the empire. Herself coordinated everything from a hidden station at the edge of human space. She received reports every hour, building a complete picture of the enemy. "They have no idea we are coming," she reported to Admiral Ho. "They think we are hiding, their patrols have relaxed, their defenses are minimal." "Good," Ho said. "Let them relax, let them forget about us." On the anniversary of the attack, Admiral Ho traveled to Nu. The planet was still dead. The cities were still rubble. Nothing had been rebuilt. He stood in what had once been the capital city, surrounded by the ghosts of 3 million people. The ground was black with ash. Twisted metal frames were all that remained of buildings where families had lived and laughed and loved. Someone had built a memorial wall. 3 million names carved into black stone stretching for kilometers. Ho walked along the wall reading the names. Old names, young names, names of people who had dreams and fears and hopes. He stopped at one section and touched a small group of names. A mother and 2 daughters, doctor's sister and nieces. "I made you a promise," he said quietly to the names. "I said that not one world would be spared. I intend to keep that promise." Behind him, his shuttle waited. Inside were final reports from Doctor, Captain Sung, Lieutenant, and Director. Everything was ready. 6 months of silence, 6 months of preparation, 6 months of patient, cold anger. Ambassador had tried one last time to reach Earth. She traveled to the border of human space and broadcast a message. "Admiral Ho, I know you are planning something. I have studied your people. I understand your anger, but please consider the consequences. The Federation will not stand by if you start a war." Ho's response came back as a simple audio message. "Ambassador, the war started when they killed our children. We are simply finishing it. As for the Federation, they chose to do nothing when we needed them. Now they can watch what happens when humans solve their own problems." He paused. "And Ambassador, when this is over, you will want to be on the winning side. Think about that." The transmission ended. Sat in her ship, staring at the silent border of human space. She knew what was coming. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had survived so many wars against each other, why they had climbed from caves to stars in such a short time. Humans were not like other species. Humans were predators who had learned to wear the mask of civilization. And now that mask was coming off. The message came without warning. Every communication device in the galaxy received it at the same moment. Television screens on 1,000 worlds showed the same face. Admiral Ho of Earth, standing on the bridge of a warship, his eyes cold and hard. 6 months ago, the Empire killed 3 million humans on Nu. They sent videos of our burning cities to every corner of the galaxy. They wanted to show everyone that humans are weak, that humans can be slaughtered without consequence. His voice was calm, almost gentle. That calmness was more frightening than any rage. "Today we send our own message. The Empire will pay for every life they took, not in diplomatic meetings, not in Federation courts, in blood and fire and death." He paused. You have 7 days to surrender unconditionally. If you do not, we will destroy everything you have ever built. Your cities, your ships, your worlds. We will not stop until your empire is ash." The transmission ended. For a long moment the galaxy was silent. Then chaos erupted. Warlord of the Empire laughed when he saw the message. He was a massive being, covered in gray scales and natural armor. He had led the attack on Nu personally. He had enjoyed watching the humans die. "The insects threaten us," he said to his officers. "Send a fleet to remind them of their place." He ordered 50 warships to human space. It was more than enough, he thought, to crush any resistance the primitives could offer. The 50 ships never arrived. Captain Sung's stealth fleet was waiting for them. The ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, expecting empty space. Instead, they found 200 black shapes surrounding them. The commander ordered shields up and weapons ready. Nothing happened. Every electronic system on his ship had died. The silence field had struck. Captain Sung's voice came through emergency speakers, powered by a separate system. You cannot fight, you cannot run, you can only watch. The human ships opened fire. Plasma cannons tore through hulls. Torpedoes exploded inside engine rooms. The ships tried to return fire, but their weapons were dead. They tried to retreat, but their engines were silent. In 12 minutes, all 50 warships were destroyed. There were no survivors. Captain Sung did not allow escape pods to launch. Let them wonder what happened to their fleet, he said. Let them fear what they cannot see. Across the galaxy, the news spread. 50 warships had vanished without a trace. No distress calls, no survivors, no explanation. Warlords stopped laughing. The next day, 12 military outposts went dark. They were spread across different star systems, hundreds of light years apart. All 12 were attacked at the exact same moment. Human soldiers appeared from nowhere. Lieutenant had trained them well. They did not fight like the civilized species of the Federation. They fought dirty. Explosives in water supplies, poison in air systems, attacks in the middle of the night when defenders were sleeping. The outposts were not just defeated, they were erased. Images began to appear on galactic networks. Burning bases, dead soldiers, human troops standing over the wreckage with cold, emotionless faces. Director made sure these images reached every corner of the galaxy. She wanted everyone to see. She wanted everyone to understand. This is what happens when you attack humanity, she said in a private message to her agents. Make sure no one forgets. Warlord assembled a war council. His generals looked nervous. None of them had expected this response. The humans were supposed to be weak. The humans were supposed to be afraid. How are they doing this? Demanded. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were useless against our shields. No one had an answer. High Chancellor called an emergency session of the Galactic Federation. Species that had ignored humanity for decades now watched in horror as the humans tore through defenses like paper. This must stop, declared. We cannot allow genocide, we must intervene. Ambassador stood up. With respect, Chancellor, where was this concern when they killed 3 million human civilians? Where was the intervention then? Shifted uncomfortably. That was different. They acted without Federation approval. And now the humans are acting without Federation approval. The difference is that the humans are winning. The council erupted in argument. Some species supported intervention. Others said humanity had the right to defend itself. A few quietly admitted that they were glad someone was finally standing up to the. While the Federation debated, the human offensive continued. Admiral Ho commanded from his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. He received reports every hour. Military bases destroyed. Supply convoys intercepted. Patrol ships ambushed and eliminated. But he knew that destroying military targets was not enough. They had not limited themselves to military targets on Nu. They had killed civilians. They had burned cities. They had shown no mercy. Neither would he. On the 4th day, human ships appeared over an agricultural world. This planet grew food for a dozen colonies. Millions of tons of crops, enough to feed billions of people. The defenders prepared for battle, but the human ships did not engage them. Instead, they released something into the atmosphere. A biological agent developed by Doctor's team. It did not harm people. It only killed plants. Within a week, every crop on the planet was dead. The soil was poisoned for generations. The agricultural world became a dead rock. They screamed in outrage. This was a war crime. This was against all laws of civilized warfare. Admiral Ho responded with a single message. You killed our children. You burned our families. You showed us no mercy. Why do you expect any in return? On the 5th day, human ships attacked a medical station. It was a place where wounded soldiers were brought to heal. The humans disabled it and left it floating in space. The patients inside could not be treated. They died slowly over the following days. Warlord finally understood what he was facing. These humans were not fighting a war. They were conducting an extermination. He sent a message to Admiral Ho, demanding to know what would make the humans stop. The response came back immediately. Unconditional surrender. You have 2 days left. Refused. The Empire had never surrendered to anyone. They had conquered 1,000 worlds. They had destroyed species that dared to challenge them. They would not bow to insects from a single planet. Doctor appeared on Admiral Ho's bridge on the 6th day. She looked tired but satisfied. The stellar collapse device is in position, she said. We have deployed it near the home system. Ho nodded. You are certain it will work? I am certain. That has 3 suns. If we activate the device on any one of them, the resulting explosion will destroy everything within 5 light years. Their orbital stations, their defense fleets, everything. And we can target it precisely. Yes, the device creates a controlled collapse. The explosion will spread in a specific direction. We can aim it at the while leaving our own forces safe. Ho looked at the holographic map of the home system. Billions of lived there. Civilians who had nothing to do with the attack on Nu. Children who had never heard of Earth. He thought about the names on the memorial wall. 3 million names, including Doctor's sister and her 2 daughters. On my command, he said, we will broadcast one final warning. If they do not surrender within 24 hours, we will activate the device. And if they call our bluff? Ho's eyes were empty of mercy. It is not a bluff. Across the galaxy, species watched the countdown with growing terror. They had built a civilization based on rules and order. Wars were fought with limits. Destruction was controlled. No one threatened to destroy entire star systems. Humans did not follow those rules. Humans had never followed those rules. And now, the galaxy was learning what happened when humanity decided to fight without limits. The countdown reached 24 hours. Warlord stared at the human message, still refusing to believe what was happening. And Admiral Ho waited, patient as death, for them to make their choice. The Galactic Federation Council had never seen such panic. Species that had lived in peace for millions of years were now screaming at each other across the Great Hall. High Chancellor stood at the center, trying to restore order, but no one was listening. We must stop the humans, shouted the delegate from the hegemony. They are going to destroy an entire star system. Billions will die. They killed 3 million humans first, responded the delegate from the. Perhaps they should have considered the consequences. This is not about justice. This is about genocide. Ambassador stepped forward. She had been waiting for this moment. For decades, the Empire has bullied smaller species. They have stolen resources. They have conquered worlds. They have killed civilians without punishment. The Federation did nothing because they were powerful, because they were useful. She looked directly at. Now a species you dismissed as primitive is doing what the Federation never had the courage to do. They are stopping and you want to intervene, to protect the aggressors. His face was troubled. Ambassador, we cannot allow the destruction of entire worlds. If we permit this, what stops any species from doing the same? The galactic order will collapse. The galactic order is built on the suffering of the weak, said. Perhaps it deserves to collapse. While the council argued, made a decision. He would send a Federation peacekeeping fleet to human space, not to attack, but to force negotiations. Surely the humans would not fire on neutral ships. 300 Federation warships gathered at the border of human territory. They were not there to fight. They were there to intimidate. Believed that even humans would not risk war with the entire Federation. Admiral Ho received the news calmly. They are demanding that we stand down, reported Captain Sung. They say they will enforce a ceasefire whether we agree or not. How many ships? 300 mixed species, heavy armor and weapons. Ho looked at the tactical display. The Federation fleet was impressive. Against any other opponent, it would have been overwhelming. But the Federation had not been fighting for 6 months. They had not learned what human weapons could do. He opened a communication channel to the Federation fleet. This is Admiral Ho of the Terran Republic. You are entering human space without permission. I will give you one warning. Turn around and leave. If you do not, you will be treated as hostile invaders. The Federation commander, a tall being named Admiral, responded with confidence. Admiral, the Federation Council has authorized this mission. We are here to prevent further bloodshed. Stand down your forces, or we will be forced to take action. Ho's voice was ice. You watched 3 million of my people die and offered words. You did nothing while the broadcast their murders across the galaxy. Now you threaten us with action. He paused. They made the mistake of thinking we were weak. Do not make the same mistake, Admiral. Return home or be destroyed. Hesitated. He had seen the reports of what human weapons had done to ships, but he had 300 ships against whatever the humans could gather. The math was simple. Admiral Ho, I do not wish to fight you, but I have my orders. Stand down. The human admiral ended the communication without another word. The Federation fleet moved forward. They never saw the human ships. Captain Sung's stealth fleet was already in position, scattered around the Federation formation like invisible wolves surrounding a herd of sheep. The silence field activated. Across 300 ships, lights went dark, weapons went offline, engines stopped, shields dropped. In an instant, the greatest peacekeeping fleet in galactic history became helpless metal boxes floating in space. Ho's face appeared on every emergency screen. I gave you a warning. You ignored it. Now you will learn what happens when you threaten humanity. But he did not order his ships to fire. I am not a monster, Admiral. I do not kill those who cannot fight back. Your ships will be towed to the edge of Federation space. You will be released. Go home and tell your council what you have seen. He leaned closer to the screen. And tell them this. If another Federation ship enters human space without permission, there will be no mercy. We will destroy every ship, every station, every world that dares to challenge us. The Federation had its chance to stand with us. That chance is gone. The human fleet towed the disabled Federation ships away. Not a single shot was fired, but the message was clear. The Federation military, the great peacekeeper of the galaxy, had been humiliated without a fight. On the council floor, panic turned to terror. Director chose this moment to release her intelligence. Encrypted files appeared on every delegate's screen, evidence that the attack on Nu had not been entirely their idea. The files showed secret communications between the and 3 major Federation species. They had encouraged the attack. They had provided intelligence on human defenses. They had wanted to see what would happen if someone pushed the primitive humans. The council exploded. Species that had nothing to do with the conspiracy turned on those who did. Accusations flew. Old alliances shattered. The carefully constructed galactic order began to crack. Ambassador watched with grim satisfaction. Humans did not just fight with weapons. They fought with information. They had waited 6 months to release this intelligence, timing it perfectly to cause maximum chaos. While the Federation tore itself apart, the human offensive against the continued. Captain Sung's fleet reached the core systems. These were the oldest and most protected worlds, defended by thousands of warships and orbital fortresses. It did not matter. The silence field rendered defenses useless. Human soldiers landed on world after world, not to conquer but to destroy. Power plants were demolished. Communication networks were severed. Government buildings were burned to the ground. Warlord gathered his remaining forces for a final stand at the. It was the largest fleet he had ever commanded, 5,000 warships ready to fight to the death. But was no longer confident. Every battle report had been the same. Human ships appeared from nowhere. Human weapons bypassed all defenses. Human soldiers fought with a brutality that shocked even the. He sent a private message to Admiral Ho, bypassing official channels. Admiral, this has gone far enough. Name your terms, we can negotiate. Ho's response came back within minutes. Terms? You were offered terms 6 months ago. The Federation offered dialogue and peace. You chose to show us videos of our burning children. You celebrated in your halls while human families screamed in human fire. His voice was flat, emotionless. Now you want to negotiate. Now you want peace. Where was this desire when your ships descended on Nu? Where was this restraint when you killed 3 million innocent people? Try it again. What do you want? Reparations, territory, political concessions, whatever it is, we can discuss it. I want nothing you can give me, Ho said. I want my people back. I want 3 million lives returned to their families. Can you do that, Warlord? Can you bring back the dead? Silence. I thought not. So instead, I will take what I can. Your military will be destroyed. Your leaders will be executed. Your empire will be broken into pieces that can never threaten anyone again. That is genocide, whispered. No, genocide is what you did to Nu. This is justice. This is consequence. This is what happens when you attack a species that does not know how to forgive. Ho ended the transmission. Stared at the empty screen. He had underestimated the humans. Everyone had underestimated the humans. They had looked at Earth and seen a young species, full of optimism and hope. They had not looked deeper. They had not seen the wars, the famines, the plagues, the endless struggle for survival that had forged humanity into something hard and sharp and merciless. They had woken something that should have been left sleeping. And now they would pay the price. The final countdown began. 24 hours until the stellar collapse device activated. 24 hours until the faced extinction. 24 hours for Warlord to make an impossible choice. Surrender and lose everything, or fight and lose everyone. The countdown reached its final hour. Warlord stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the timer tick down. Around him, his officers waited in silence. They had fought battles across 1,000 worlds. They had never felt fear like this. The stellar collapse device floated near their largest sun, invisible but deadly. If it activated, the sun would collapse and explode outward with enough force to destroy everything within 5 light years. The orbital stations, the defense fleet, billions of lives. Had tried everything. He had offered territory. He had offered resources. He had offered to punish those responsible for Nu. Admiral Ho had rejected every offer with the same cold response. Unconditional surrender, nothing else. They had never surrendered in 10,000 years of history. Their empire had been built on conquest and strength. To surrender was to admit weakness. To surrender was to become nothing. But extinction was worse than nothing. With 10 minutes remaining, gave the order. Open a channel to the human flagship. Admiral Ho's face appeared on the screen. He looked the same as always, calm, patient, utterly without mercy. Warlord, you have 10 minutes. Took a deep breath. The words he was about to speak would end the empire as it had existed for, but they would save his people. The empire surrenders unconditionally to the Terran Republic. Ho nodded slowly. Acceptable. These are the terms. Your fleet will stand down immediately. All weapons will be disabled. Your soldiers will return to there and await further instructions. What instructions? Every leader who ordered, planned, or participated in the attack on Nu will be handed over to human custody. They will face trial and execution. Scales turned pale. You want me to surrender my own officers to be killed? They killed 3 million of my people. They will answer for that crime. This is not negotiable. And if I refuse? Ho glanced at something off-screen. Then you have 8 minutes to watch your son explode. Closed his eyes. He thought of his officers, his generals, his advisors. Many of them had stood beside him when the new attack was planned. They had laughed together at the foolish humans who thought they could challenge the. None of them were laughing now. I accept your terms. The fleet powered down. Weapons went offline. Engines stopped. The greatest military force in the galaxy became silent and still. Admiral Ho ordered the stellar collapse device to deactivate. The threat passed, but the war was not over. 3 days later, Captain Sung's fleet arrived at Minor, the second largest colony world. 20 million lived there. It was a beautiful planet covered in forests and lakes. The colony had nothing to do with the attack on Nu. The people there were farmers, teachers, merchants. They had never held weapons. They had never threatened humanity. But Admiral Ho had made a promise. They killed 3 million humans. He would return the debt with interest. Human ships took position over Minor. They did not land troops. They did not send warnings. They simply opened fire. Orbital bombardment lasted for 1 hour. When it ended, the forests were burning. The lakes were boiling. The cities were craters. 20 million died in a single day. The galaxy watched in horror. This was not war. This was not justice. This was vengeance, pure and terrible. High Chancellor broadcast a desperate plea for humanity to stop. This is genocide. This is a crime against all civilization. Admiral Ho, you have become what you claim to fight against. Ho responded with a single sentence. We told you we would return the debt with interest. 20 million for 3 million. Consider the debt paid. They surrendered completely after that. They had no choice. Any further resistance would mean more destroyed worlds, more dead civilians, more horror that they could not stop. Warlord was brought before Admiral Ho in chains. He was taken aboard the human flagship and forced to kneel on the command deck where his enemies had planned his empire's destruction. Ho looked down at him without expression. Before you die, he said, I want you to understand something. We did not want this. Humanity joined the Federation hopping for peace. We wanted to trade, to learn, to explore. We wanted to be friends with the galaxy. He stepped closer. You showed us that friendship is weakness. You taught us that only strength is respected. You proved that the galaxy will watch innocent people burn and do nothing. So now we have become what the galaxy understands. We have become the strongest. Looked up with hatred in his eyes. You are monsters. Yes, Ho agreed. We are, you made us this way. Was executed the next day, along with 57 other leaders. Their deaths were broadcast across the galaxy, just as the attack on Nu had been broadcast. The message was clear. This is what happens to those who attack humanity. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. Earth from the Galactic Federation. Admiral Ho announced the formation of a new alliance, the Terran Coalition. It was open to any species that had been bullied or ignored by the major powers. Ambassador was the first to join. They had always been dismissed as weak and peaceful. Now they stood beside humanity, protected by human weapons and human will. Other species followed. The small, the forgotten, the victimized. They came to Earth seeking protection, and humanity offered it freely. Any species that joins the coalition is under our protection, Ho announced. Attack one of us, and you attack all of us. And now the galaxy knows what happens when you attack us. Doctor published Earth's advanced technology to all coalition members. The secrets that the Federation had kept hidden for millions of years were now available to anyone who asked. The old balance of power crumbled overnight. The ancient species of the Federation were terrified. They had built their civilization on being the most advanced, the most powerful. Now a young species from a small planet had shown them that power could change hands very quickly. High Chancellor attempted to negotiate with Admiral Ho. He wanted peace. He wanted stability. He wanted things to return to the way they were. Ho refused to meet with him. "The Federation had its chance to stand with us," he said. "They chose to watch while our people burned. Now they can watch while we build something better." Months passed. The empire was divided into small territories, each one incapable of threatening anyone. The species that had secretly supported the attack on Nu were exposed and shunned. The galactic order that had existed for millions of years fell apart. Lieutenant traveled to Nu after the war ended. The planet was still dead. The cities were still ruins, but construction crews were beginning to arrive. Humanity would rebuild what had been destroyed. She walked to the memorial wall where 3 million names were carved in stone. Someone had added something new above the names, a flag of the Terran Republic flying in the wind. Admiral Ho found her there. They stood in silence for a long time, looking at the names of the dead. "Was it worth it?" asked finally. 20 million dead, our reputation destroyed. The galaxy looks at us now and sees monsters." Ho considered the question carefully. "They will hate us," he said. "They will fear us. Some will never forgive what we did, but they will never again mistake our kindness for weakness. They will never again think they can attack us without consequence." He touched the wall gently, feeling the carved names beneath his fingers. "These 3 million people trusted us to protect them. We failed, but we will not fail again. And if the price of that protection is being called monsters, then I will pay that price." Nodded slowly. She did not know if he was right. She did not know if the terrible things they had done could ever be justified. But she knew one thing for certain. Humanity would never be victims again. Across the galaxy, species young and old learned a new phrase. It was whispered in 100 languages, passed down through generations, taught to children as a warning they would never forget. "Do not wake the sleeping humans." The stars had always seemed beautiful to humanity. Now they belonged to them. And anyone who tried to take them away would learn why humans had survived every war, every disaster, every extinction event that had ever threatened them. Not because they were good, not because they were kind, but because when pushed, they pushed back harder than anyone could imagine. The galaxy had learned that lesson. They would never forget it.